Good morning. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me here. I came today, we're going to talk about roller coasters, okay? I assure you you're at the right conference, not the roller coasters that maybe you're thinking of at an amusement park, but the roller coaster that millions of Americans are on every day, and that's the roller coaster around weight loss. To take a step back, I want to introduce myself. My name is Cody Fair. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Noom. I've spent the vast majority of my career in the healthcare space and the last 3 years at Noom, very much in the metabolic space. I came to Noom for one reason and one reason only. It was a personal mission for me. I spent the first 20 years of my life in incredible shape, and as I was deciding what sport I was going to play in college, I had a diagnosis that changed my life forever. I spent the last 20 years significantly overweight, which led me again to Noom. Through that roller coaster and that journey, I've tried pretty much everything out there, right? I tried Noom, it was successful, which is part of why I came here. I've tried diets, I've tried meal prep, I've hired trainers, I've done almost everything you can do. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, but frankly, as I tell the story, I've lost the same 20 pounds 20 different times. So not everything was always successful, right? There was a roller coaster that I was on. But then GLP-1s entered the conversation. And I thought that was my miracle. I finally had the help I needed. GLP-1s were going to be the piece that I was missing. All along, I thought something was wrong with me. I didn't have the willpower. I didn't have this. There was a reason that I couldn't keep the weight off. The beautiful part is Noom taught me that it's biology, not only psychology. And I started to understand that there was more to my journey. Unfortunately, the miracle that I thought was in place soon became the roller coaster again that I was back on. Unfortunately, GLP-1s are stuck in our healthcare system that was frankly failing me. So I will spend the next few minutes and hope you don't mind to tell you my entire journey on GLP-1s that started almost 2 years ago to the day. To start out, I started taking Wegovy. I went to my primary care physician. She prescribed Wegovy. Took it for 3 months. It was amazing. Weight was basically falling off of me. I couldn't believe it again. I had this miracle that I did not realize even existed before I got to Noom. But that's when the shortage hit. So the next 2 months, I could not find it anywhere. I would spend time every day calling pharmacies within 50 miles to see if they could access the medication for me. They could not. Went back to my PCP, told her the story. She decided that we would move me to the highest dosage of Wegovy, which was still in stock. She told me there would be side effects. I told her no side effect would matter to getting back to the body that I wanted. Turns out that was a lie. We would also joke about the fact that I worked at Noom and knew more about GLP-1s and metabolic health than she did. In hindsight, probably not as funny as I thought it was at the time. But ultimately, I started taking Wegovy, the highest dosage. I was incredibly sick. I had to leave board meetings in the middle, like literally out of nowhere. I would just have to jump out of the room. The board members are staring at me like, what's wrong with this guy? I couldn't go out to eat with my friends. I couldn't go play golf, all the things that I loved. Because when nausea hit, you had very little warning and you had very little time, let's say, to take care of it. So from there, this was towards the end of 2023. At the beginning of 24, I found out Zepbound was now on our formulary. Thought, boom, the miracle's back. I'm ready to go. Same story. I take it for a month or two. It goes on shortage. I then spend the next basically 12 months of my life searching pharmacies. When I find it, I submit for the PCP. Then I go through prior authorization protocols that take 30 days. By the time I'm done with that, I can't get it. It's gone at that pharmacy. It's no longer in stock. This basically takes place over 12 months of 2024. At the end of 2024, Zepbound's no longer on shortage. I'm excited again. The miracle's back. Unfortunately, we changed insurance plans. So there's a whole new set of prior authorization protocols. For 60 days, I cannot find the reason as to why I can't get approved. The PBM blames the PCP blames the pharmacy. If you've ever seen the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other, like that is my vision of what prior authorization in healthcare in America looks like. Luckily at this time, I'd previously not talked about my GLP-1 journey because I thought it was cheating in some weird world in my head. But at this time I was fed up, so I was talking about it, and I was fortunate that the individual who leads our benefits team, who happens to be in this room, Mike Waddell, I did not realize this until last night that he was going to be in the room. He hears my story and reaches out and says, can I help you? And I'm fairly ignorant, so I say, no, I got it, I'm good. A week later, I'm like, you're being stupid, reach back out. So Mike, bless his heart, I appreciate it, took care of it for me. What I found out why I was being denied the medicine was because I had not lost 15% of my body weight, I think 15% was the number, over the previous year. If you listen to the story, I was never on therapy for more than a month at a time. I'd be on for a month, off for 2 months, on for a month, off for 3 months. Losing 15% of my body weight was not gonna happen. So Mike took care of me. I don't know what he did, but it got approved, and I very much appreciate it. I got a 90-day supply. I'm a month and a half in. Weight is starting to come off. Energy's coming back. I'm certainly a much happier individual. I'd be lying if I'm not terrified when this 90-day supply runs out, what's gonna happen. My guess is prior authorizations on some level are gonna happen, but that has been my overall journey with GLP-1s. I tell you that because this is not my story alone. Hundreds, if not thousands of your employees in this room are probably going through that same journey. Hundreds of thousands of employees in this country are absolutely going through that journey. We are in a system that is broken. The reality is there's a limited supply of these medications. Now you may say, you just told me they're off shortage, which is true. What I didn't tell you, and you may know this, is that pharmacies don't want to carry them because they lose money on every single GLP-1 script they fulfill. I once talking with, I'm from the Midwest, Indiana, which you may tell from my accent, but Meijer is a huge grocery store chain in the Midwest. And I was talking to the head of pharmacy there, and she said, every script that we fill that's a GLP-1, we might as well tape $20 to it because that's what we lose every single time. So you'll find, even though Lilly and Novo will tell you their supply, pharmacies don't want them in stock. Then there are outrageous prices. These medications cost $1,300 in the US. Overseas, they're $150. I think in some cases $99 for the same exact medication that we're taking here. And then ultimately, this is my affectionate term, there's prior authorization hell, which I truly believe it is. This isn't just a personal issue, this is a workforce issue. If you think about your benefits, prices are constantly going up, right? Productivity is going down, absenteeism is going up, and all of that, if you think about it, when you struggle with your health, you're gonna struggle at work. If you struggle accessing the care that you need, it's going to affect the organization overall. Obviously, your employees are your most valuable asset, but when they're struggling, it is affecting your organization. Imagine the stress, the frustration, and what I felt for the last 2 years when I thought this miracle was within my grasp, but yet I could never actually get to it. The good news is, for me, I work for a company that cares and is doing something about it. We have petitioned Congress for affordable drug pricing, and we continue to do that every day. We've taken out ads in the Wall Street Journal, full-page ads, which you can imagine how expensive that is, trying to push legislation to make these medications cost the same here as they do in other countries. And then finally, we put together a commercial program, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second, that helps employers that want to help their employees get off of this roller coaster. At Noom, we believe obesity is a chronic disease, but it is different from high blood pressure and high cholesterol. You can't just take a pill and solve the problem. You need full wraparound care. You need clinicians that are experts in obesity care, kind of a nod back to my PCP, and I love her, but that's not what her training is. You need help from a behavior change standpoint to help the mental piece of this. You need help with exercise, diet, and stress. All of these things very much go together, or you're gonna lose out on the expected ROI that can come from these medications. So now to talk about what I just mentioned, the commercial program we put together. Basically, the last 2 years while I was traveling the country at conferences, not surprisingly, almost every breakout session was on GLP-1s. And all you heard was cost, 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 and I completely understand it. Cost is the biggest barrier. If you can't afford to cover them, none of this really matters. But what surprised me is nobody really talked about the member experience. Nobody seemed to care about the member, maybe better stated, the patient or the human that was really struggling with this. It was all about what protocols, what prior authorization hell can we put in place to keep these medications from individuals. So I was fed up with it. I sat down with my team. I'm incredibly lucky to have a lot of brilliant individuals that I work with. And this was the first time I actually opened up about my story. We wrote a blog post about it, but it was where I started to tell kind of the journey or the roller coaster that I'd been on. And we thought there had to be a better way. So what we did is put together what we call Noom Med with SmartRx. And first, we knew we had to address the cost piece or nobody would listen. So what it is a program where you carve GLP-1s out from the PBM. We went and found better drug pricing. So on average, you will get branded GLP-1s through Noom, $200 cheaper per script per month than you would through a PBM, and that's after rebates. Then we set it up as a supplemental benefit, because again, it's outside of the PBM, and you decide as an employer how much you want to pay. If you want to cover half that cost, you cover half. If you want 25%, you cover 25%. It's completely up to you as an employer. But then we went to solve the member experience, which was what I was really passionate about. So we wrap this around with full care. You meet with clinicians that are expert in obesity care that can help you and understand your journey. You use the Noom app, which we're broadly known for and have helped millions lose weight over the last 15 years. We then built a GLP-1 companion that was purpose-built to help people taking these medications. It helps them focus on the nausea, a high-protein diet. We even have a body scan, which I think is pretty cool. You literally set your phone up in front of you, spin in a circle to tell you your fat mass, your lean mass, your waist to hip ratio, all these different metrics. And that's how we started to solve the member experience. From there, we put a network of pharmacies together that would guarantee delivery of these medications to the employees within 7 days. And most importantly, there's no prior authorization hell that exists with this program. Ultimately, we believe all of these things together are how you will truly pull an ROI out of these medications. And the reality is, everything is about ROI. And I don't just mean your bottom line, but when I take a GLP-1, I want the ROI out of it myself. Your employees want the ROI out of what they're doing. If you think about it, the frustration and everything I went through for those years, and again, I don't want to make this about me because there's certainly a number that are going through this. We want to deliver an ROI on taking those medications. We put so much time into it. You see these prior authorization protocols that require you to do 6 months of behavior change or lifestyle change before you get the medication. Personally, that just annoys me, right? Like we didn't try that already. Like this was the first thing that we went to. But ultimately, we're not advocating for lower pricing on drugs. What we're advocating for is change, investing in your employees' health, their well-being, and their overall future. We do believe at Noom we have the power to reshape this narrative, to create a system where nowhere is judged, ashamed, or left behind, and where everyone has access to the care that they need. So with that, I ask that you help us step off of this roller coaster and create a world where healthcare is more compassionate, more accessible, and more human, because frankly, your employees deserve it. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. You have a great day.